Hi, everyone. Good morning. This is Shawn Parikh from Entigrity Offshore Staffing. Today, I have with me MARCEY RADER and Ted Rosedale. We are bringing to you our series BKOT, which is Build a Kick-Ass Offshore Team. This is another episode, and we have with us MARCEY. MARCEY is a consultant advisor to many small businesses, accounting firms. She is a founder of Work Well, Play More business, wherein she advises on remote working, time management. She is an offshore staffing coach with Entigrity and also helps a lot of clients of Entigrity in advising and remote working. We have with us Ted Rosedale. Ted is my colleague. He's vice president with Entigrity and he is in New York City. So how is New York City, Ted?
We're doing okay. We're surviving.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking.
And MARCEY is from
Raleigh, North Carolina.
Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm sorry, I forgot that. So our today's topic is, do small firms need office? And it is so relevant. I mean, it is coincidental. We were scheduled to do this. And right now, because of COVID-19, it sounds so relevant, not just in accounting industry, for every business today. So to start off this with you, MARCEY, can you share your thoughts around this, especially in accounting industry, because we work in that industry?
If firms need a physical office?
Yes.
Yes. No, not everyone. Of course, I mean, there are certain things that need to be done in a physical office, but for what Entigrity does, no, there doesn't need to be a physical space. And what I think is, if we have to look at this situation with COVID-19 in a positive way, companies are being forced to be creative about working remote. And with their internal, if they've been hesitant about using offshore staffing or that kind of work environment, because they're not used to it, they're not sure how it would be to not have direct contact with somebody. Now they're being forced to see how that works, because a lot of states, Massachusetts, North Carolina, New York, they're saying, don't go into the office, work from home, and people are just having to figure it out. And so I think that the positive that will come from this, from a work standpoint, is that people will see that it can be done. And you don't have to have everybody in the same office to do the tasks that need to be done.
But then my question would be, accounting industry, and of course, then I'll come to you to know your thoughts about it. Accounting industry, I was reading a data point that probably more than 50% of the people are baby boomers, or what we say as beyond 50 in their age. So, and of course, even their clientele, So what are your thoughts there? I mean, when you talk about remote working, of course, there are tools, technologies available, and we'll talk about that. But when we look at this from a practical standpoint about, their experience and age of accounting firms and accounting firm owners and partners, and the demography of their clients.
Is this a question for me? Because I'm happy to answer. Okay, I thought you had mentioned Ted. I think that there may be more baby boomers that feel more comfortable working in a physical office, but I'm Gen X, I'm 45 years old, and I've worked remotely since 2002. I had a manager that I never met, but one time face-to-face in 6 years, and I felt our whole team was remote. This is not a new thing. People have been working remotely and globally and working offshore for at least 15 years easily. And so it's, for me, I don't think it's so much an age or generational issue. I think it's more of an industry. And some industries are more used to working in a physical space altogether than others. So to me, it's more industry specific.
So Teddy, currently you are working from home. So of course you would be kind of, so that's an obvious, but still, I would like to know about, I think, what is your thoughts on people, accounting firms going virtual?
Absolutely. Well, what I find is that today, more than ever, accountants and individuals over a certain age are more receptive to the concept of working remotely. Technology supports working remotely. Management supports working remotely today. Just a few years ago, without the inventions of TeamViewer and GoToMyPC and other accounting solutions, it was actually impossible to do remote work. But today, accounting firms could have cloud-based software and tracking software to allow their employees to work virtually. It's very efficient today, and it's promoted by firms of all sizes, and we see that with our clients every day.
And more, and I mean, when I think about going virtual more, I mean, we have clients who are completely virtual, and when I say clients which are completely virtual, not just having a small team of 4 or 5 people, clients which are virtual and have a team of like 50 people, 60 people. But when we work with accounting firms, we come to know that they have clients beyond the age of 60, and whose asking rates are, I mean, their needs are different. Basically, they want that pickup, and they want somebody to pick up their documents and deliver their documents. They would like to have that face-to-face meeting, whether it's at the office of a accounting firm or at the office of, a client or a home, I was talking to one of my clients in New York, Red Lake Financial Services, Scott Kilder, right. And I was discussing this point with him, and he specializes, in those nanny payrolls and, helping older people with their financial savings, retirement, and accounting, tax, everything. So when I was talking to them, when I was talking to Scott, and I told him that why you are not, going completely virtual when you are technologically savvy. And one of the reasons he pointed out was my client. I can, I need to be physically present to serve my client because my client demographic is such. So one of the key reasons which could really, impact in your decisions of whether to go virtual, whether wholly or partially, depends on your clientele, apart from usage of technology. Yep. Of course, I agree that going virtual adds more scalability to the business. Adds more, you can add more services to the business. Your reach expands. The flexibility in the work is more. Yeah. And but still, one of the factors probably still today is you need just like attorneys or family attorneys, you need local, you need accountants who are local. But still, you have a lot of firms who are growing, and they might be headquartered at one place, but having presence across the United States.
Exactly.
So yeah, virtual firms are growing, but one of the things is clientele. And one thing I agree with you, Marcy, is somewhere it's an industry issue. Many industries have kind of grown organically and adapted to, the culture of remote working, the culture of virtual, offices, culture of shared workspace. Mm-hmm. We have clients who actually, does not have office. They work from places of WeWork or shared workspaces, especially in New York City,
Exactly.
So we have tons of clients in New York City. I mean, Ted can, answer that better, but who practically work, and they do, I was thinking that probably they might be a 1 or 2 people firm, considering the fact that they work from a shared workspace. And what we realized when we started working with them, they're doing 1.5, 2 million revenue, and they have a person in Arizona working for them. They have a person in Tampa working for them. So it was amazing to know that, people are embracing this concept. And right now, rightly said that in a situation of COVID-19, where remote working is going to kind of grow because people are forcibly required to work remotely, given a situation where you are not allowed to have any personal contact, and especially New York City, Ted.
Right.
So,
Shawn, can I make a point about your client that said his clientele, a lot of them are over 60 and they like that face-to-face contact. There are probably accountants and businesses out there that they like that face-to-face contact too, or there are people in their office that really enjoy that face-to-face contact. And so it doesn't have to be all or nothing. And that's a really important point, I think, to share with people, is that you don't have to be all virtual or all remote or all brick and mortar face-to-face. You could serve 80% of your clients via teleconference. And then there's the 20% of your clients that still like that face-to-face contact. That limits your geographic region that you can serve, but only for that 20% of clients. And, for your staff, it could be that you like to have, you want maybe the majority or some of them to be there with you because maybe you're an extrovert and you just need to have an office to go into and see people every day. But it doesn't mean that it has to be one or the other, where you're all virtual or you're all in one office. So I think depending on the personality of the business, you can have a good mix.
Absolutely. It has to be a hybrid model where you decide, what percentage, and it starts like that. You start working from home, worrying about going to the office. And once you start doing that, you will realize that there are ways and means where, you can actually practically work from your laptop going to the cloud. I travel right now. I'm talking from India right now, but I, travel to United States 7 or 8 months or 9 months a year. And we are expanding to Canada. So Canada, we have about 25, 30 clients. So I travel, and what I need to stay connected with all my team in India, all my team in US, and we have one person in Canada. Everywhere, is my laptop and internet. Everything else, is on cloud, accessible. And I'm so worry free. There are automatic backups, so I'm not worried about the data. And these are secure. It's as secure as a bank. If you trust bank, you have to trust clouds also. So
right. And within Integrity's security and your physical office there in India it's probably more secure than most accounting firms.
Yeah.
Just the layers of security that you provide. I would say it's probably more secure than a lot of firms even here.
Well, security is it's just like a mindset rather. I would not say a myth, but it's a mindset which needs to be taken seriously. We have done that as a team, and what we wanted is when we are partnering with firms, we wanted to build that trust. And I mentioned to you when we initially started talking, probably that we wanted to build that trust, and that's one of the reasons, that we need to stay compliant, whatever may be the situation, whatever may be the the thinking of the other side. We have client who doesn't care about it. Right, Terry? Yeah.
You have to make your clients comfortable. They have to know that work is being done the right way. It's being done in a secure environment, and that they want to know the security is there. So we have it, and and a lot of occasions, our office is more secure than their office. We put that work in to stress that point. It's very important that their data and their clients' data is secure.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I want to highlight today is, see, technically, when you talk about security today, we are in a world where the only thing which is secured in a computer is where you chain it and throw it in the middle of an ocean and expect it never to retrieve it. That's the secure thing.
Yeah.
In the Google era. But yes, we respect security because we are an organization where our client has to have certain level of security by the regulations, by the environment, by their clients. So that's where we have make compliance an important part of our performance culture, our overall organizational culture. Having said that, some of our client doesn't give, doesn't care about what they say, that, as long as I'm working with you and I am responsible for my clients, I don't care, I would like to work with partners who know what they're doing. But it is our mandate that we would stay on top of this. So accountant's office, you say, yeah, most of the accountants have papers everywhere. You can plug in USB drives and you can download anything. You are not allowed in Integrity's office. There are restrictions on website. There are no downloads and uploads, and there are no mobile phones, and there are no printers. So that way, it is definitely too much higher security. Talking about that, I would like to ask you, and Marcy, I was going through your website, and you have actually, recommended a lot of applications which can be used to facilitate remote working and to facilitate offshore working. So, especially in accounting space, your application list, your partner list is very high, but in what would be your recommendation, or what would be your thoughts when it comes to, accounting firms who are thinking of going virtual? What are the typical applications or typical tools you would tell them to start and then gradually kind of, move on?
Yeah. So the first thing is to get a good password management system.
Okay.
And people that are still, writing their passwords on a sticky, or they have an Excel spreadsheet with all their passwords, or it's the name of their cat with a number 5 and an exclamation or something crazy like that. You've got to stop doing that. There are so many benefits to a password management system. One, it creates a password for you that, would take 300,000 tries to break, because it's just a randomly generated password. But also when you share, my password management system of choice is Dashlane. And when I share my password with anyone that works with me, I can choose to share full rights, which I never do, or limited rights. And when you share limited rights, then that means that they don't have access to the billing or payment section, and they don't have access to change your password. The other thing that is a great benefit for that is, if something were to happen, and say you had a relationship that went south, and you can revoke in one click everything that you've shared with that person, every password that you've shared with that person, you can revoke it. And so to me, password management system is number 1. Yep. Number 2 would be a really good project management system. As a productivity coach and speaker, if I could get everybody out of their inbox, I would. Tasking in an inbox is not efficient. You're not able to prioritize. There's a lot of back and forth and emails. And so using a project management system, my system of choice is Asana, but you could use Trello, Microsoft Teams, Basecamp, any of those would work. But what's great about it is that I email, like my assistant, I email maybe once a month. I don't even know when I would do that, because everything is in our project management system, and I can just go in there and see the status. I can write a due date. We can communicate in there, and there isn't that back and forth in the inbox. The other great thing about that is, if you have freelancers or offshore staff, or however, whoever they are, you can just provide them access to specific projects or specific tasks. And you can, again, easily revoke that access in one fell swoop if you needed to, or you can give access to an entire project in one click. And so to me, the 2 biggest productivity tools would be a good password management system and a project management system that you actually use.
So thank you, Marcy, for that input onto the applications and that you. So typically specifically you highlighted Password Keeper and Project Management System. Ted, would you like to add something to that?
Yeah, I kind of touched on it earlier, but I find for accounting firms, the one point that, you know, really makes a difference in networking and, and working remotely is the software you're using to connect virtually to either the accounting firm's dedicated machine, or whether you're working in the cloud. So for example, we see a lot of clients using TeamViewer, go to my PC, log me in. These solutions make it much simpler for our remote staff to actually work on dedicated machines in the firm's accounting space. So having access to this type of software, you know, is extremely important for an efficient relationship. So that's what I like to suggest and highlight, having very good remote access. And today there's a number of software packages that are available for that and accomplish that very easily.
I'm going to add another one.
Go ahead.
Because that made me think virtual conferencing is so important, and seeing people's faces, and even just one brief meeting a week with, because my longest time employee full-time is in the Philippines, and we meet once a week over Zoom, sometimes more, but once a week over Zoom video conference, and it makes such a big difference with that sense of connection. But also, you know, when people are pausing because they're thinking, if you're on the phone, you think, you know, are you there? Are you there? Or you feel rushed to speak. But like, I can look at Shawn right now and I know he's pondering something, you know, and so but then also you can share your desktop. So, you know, if I need to quickly show you or explain something, I can share my desktop. And one way that I recommend when my clients are, you know, bringing on remote staff or new team members is to record themselves doing, whether you use, you know, I just use Zoom to record myself, but I'll actually open up an application and record myself doing the steps within the application with a voiceover. I'm just talking about it as I'm doing it, sharing my screen, and then I save that recording and I put it into our company manual. We call it a success manual. And then, you know, in the table of contents of all of our standard operating procedures, there's also a video that we've recorded. So that way, you know, sometimes people are better with visual, and what's great about the video is that you can pause the video as the new person is actually going through the steps. So that's another way to use technology so that you're not constantly retraining people or reminding people. You can just say, refer to the video.
Exactly.
And that reminds me of one of my friends in Canada who is also a client, Monal Shah. He actually came to India last weeks, and he started his own practice 2 years back in Toronto. So he was actually confused how to scale this up, and he actually decided to create videos for clients, and now the whole onboarding is, so you can say, if not automated, but at least systematized. Partially automated, but partially systematized. So he used this video technique. One of the things I would like to add to what you and I mean, you both said is actually the collaboration and communication. So it's very important to have a good communication tool. Skype and Slack are best example of that. In our firm, I mean, in our company, we have, people using American phone numbers, even they're in India. So you can actually talk and text with them the way you normally do here, if firm permits. But they are a web-based phone, basically, web-based US phones. But more comfortable are the Zoom or Skype or Slack that we use for video meetings, video conferencing, audio calls, instant chat to resolve, or instant document sharing. There is one interesting application called 𝐚𝐜𝐜𝐸𝐿. Actually, Rootworks is one of the great advisor in accounting industry. They promoted this secure messaging app, especially for accountants and professionals who want to share secure data with clients.
Right.
So according to me, communication is very, very important when you work with the team.
Yes.
Especially it is way more important when you have somebody is not in your office, because you cannot shout and tell, please do this work, or you are limited in communication in terms of facial expression, just like MARCEY pointed out that, or body language, when you're doing an audio call, or what kind of mood he is in, what is his, mental situation right now. So in that situation, you always,
Then you can tell when somebody's working.
yes.
Yeah, I think it's important to put a face to a name, as simple as that is. People want to know who they're working with. And sometimes when I'm talking to a prospective client, when you're explaining virtual working and working remotely, you have to explain to them, you're working with real people.
Yeah.
And when you're working with real people, you can FaceTime with them or Skype with them. You want to see who you're working with. That you have to stress that point, because sometimes people lose that. It gets lost in translation. You're working with a real person who works in India. They're working for you. They're an extension of your team. I like to stress that point. You're just building an extension of your office. That's really what this is.
Yes, absolutely. So our communication tool is very important, and as Teddy rightly said, that you need to treat them as a part of your team. If you don't, when you have a team member, when you hire a new team member, you allow them to kind of, onboard and understand the basic processes of the firm. You also, train them on things that is unique to your firm, about your clients, about your processes. You actually, do a review, you do a meeting. So all this needs to be done when it comes to any remote staff, onshore or offshore.
Yep.
Well, that brings me to a very good case study and example, which we are going to, put in our description when we go and when we publish this on YouTube, is of a firm called HPC Cloud Accountants. So HPC Bruce Phillips was a CPA and started this firm called HPC. And it was, it was started as a brick and mortar, and then they actually converted them into a completely virtual firm. What happened? It is a very interesting story, and they have a whole YouTube video on this story. Eventually, after converting, and they were about 40-50 people firm, completely virtually working from United States. They got acquired by one of the largest accounting firms called 𝐴PRIO.
Yep.
And they have this division called 𝐴PRIO Cloud, which is like HPC is basically 𝐴PRIO Cloud now. So Bruce Phillips is kind of heading that division in that, or is a partner and heading that division, 𝐴PRIO Cloud, in the larger firm. So they saw that, they're not just buying a firm, they're buying the whole system, which can be replicated into into the larger firm that they are, and it is the culture that they're bringing on. So, So it is one of the very good case study. We are going to put this, put the link in the description of the YouTube video. Next question or next thing that comes to my mind is when it comes to remote working, especially in accounting industry reference, MARCEY and Ted, you can hire somebody onshore who works remotely from their home, and with Entigrity or partners like Entigrity, you can hire somebody who's working remotely, but they work remotely from an office of Entigrity, yes, which is in India, basically. So what do you think? I mean, practically, I see there are limitations with remote working. What are your thoughts, MARCEY, there? I mean, what do you think about, when somebody, because you are also advising people on offshore staffing, how would you kind of differentiate or kind of filter that what profile is suitable for offshore and what profile is suitable for onshore?
Oh, sure. Well, offshore, most of the time it's going to be in a very different time zone.
Yes.
And for me, some people might see that as a negative because they can't connect, they can't talk to them at any time of the day, whenever they want. To me, it's a huge benefit to have my staff offshore, because I wake up in the morning and stuff is done. Stuff has been done while I'm sleeping. But we always have this window of time. Some people have the window, at night.
Yeah.
We have our window in the morning. And even just this morning, we were chatting back and forth. And yesterday morning, because I wanted to get an article out about working from home unexpectedly due to coronavirus. And we, from her in the Philippines and me here, we knocked out an article and put it in an email campaign, posted it on LinkedIn. We did all of these things by 8 a.m. just together. And she was in the Philippines, so I think that the benefit there can be really great, that your companies, there really isn't a downtime if you have people from offshore. And what's important to note about Entigrity is that it is still an office. And because some people worry about, internet speed, or, what does their office really look like? And, are they just working from some coffee shop somewhere in India? You have an actual space that they're going to. And so they're getting up every day and, and going to work. And so I think that it's a way for businesses to scale, because they can work. It can be a 24-hour, 5-day-a-week job almost. And also for businesses that need to save money or cut costs somewhere, it's also a good benefit, because what you pay your staff in Entigrity is a good wage there, but it may not be something. But here it may be out of reach for a smaller firm to bring on another 3 people or even 1 person, whereas they could go offshore and they could bring 2 or 3 people on and build their business up that way.
Yeah.
And so, there's, to me, there's, for every negative, I could give you 3 positives.
Ted, your thoughts on that?
Yes, working remotely, you think about it in these 2 buckets, onshore and offshore. When someone works remotely, domestically here in the US, for example, they could work from home. Mm-hmm. And that's one way of going about working remotely. When you work with Entigrity, people are working remotely. However, they're working in a controlled situation in an office with great internet access, security. They have their colleagues by them. There's a whole management team in place. So, something as simple as having a question on an accounting concept. There's team members there the same way as it is when you're working in an office in the US. So it creates this concept of a team. So our employees in India are working with their colleagues. It's an experience, and you're creating a great work environment for the folks that work there. So it's a totally different play on working remotely. And I happen to see that firms favor that, because it creates, once again, this controlled environment where people are sitting in an office every day on a set schedule. It's a fabulous way of working remotely.
Yeah. And how I put it is, working offshore has all advantages of remote working onshore. Plus it kind of, covers those limitations of working remotely onshore. When you work from home, there are certain limitations, working from home can be distracting. Nobody's there to monitor you, to view your timing, when you work in an office environment, in a controlled situation, as you said, you would typically not behave in a certain way. You can, you'll do your work. Especially mobile phones are not given, they have to be deposited before they enter their work area. So with remote onshore, there are certain limitations in terms of, the work environment, the work culture, the security, and most importantly, the productivity, when there is no real monitoring, can be kind of mitigated when you partner with Entigrity and you have a staff that actually works from office. So you have, on one hand, you have all advantages of remote working, and you have advantages of working in office environment also. So that's how I would like to sum up kind of a different, but still there are some positions, I would say, which can be handled only from by onshore team. When it comes to client relationships, when it comes to extensive and comprehensive decision making, it has to be handled from America. So you need your core team to be placed in America, talking to clients, resolving their problem, advising them on various issues, managing relationship, and then an offshore team can really back them up by providing them good and accurate work, all business intelligence and the reporting that they need, and complete their backlogs and tasks, which typically save them. So that their focus is constantly on clients. And one of I'll also put a link of one of our clients, Summit CPAs, and here he did a podcast probably 2 or 3 weeks back with us, and he highlighted that after partnering with Entigrity, our KPIs, key performance indicators for our team has changed. And it is now all key performance indicators are more driven towards customer engagement and customer relationship for our onshore team. So that has kind of transformed their practice post partnering with Entigrity. And they are completely remote. And he has so beautifully articulated in his video that how he would like to scale with Entigrity. They are a virtual CFO firm. So that kind of brings probably to end to our presentation today, to our podcast. I hope everyone who has watched has liked this podcast. Thank you, Terry, and thank you, Marcy, for giving your inputs and giving your feedback and comments on this topic. We would like to continue to do a lot of podcast and content with you guys, and be safe in Raleigh and in New York, and keep us posted, Terry. Thank you.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you.